A lonely cowboy rescues a beautiful Apache woman from enemy warriors, expecting nothing in return. But as they flee across dangerous frontier territory together, Jake Morrison discovers something more precious than gold or cattle, a love worth abandoning everything he's ever known. Some bonds can't be broken by bullets or prejudice. Before watching full story, comment below from where you're watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The year was 1873, and the Texas Panhandle stretched endlessly under a blazing sun, where dust devils danced across the horizon and the sound of lowing cattle drifted on the wind. Jake Morrison sat apart from the other cowboys around the chuck wagon, a weathered and lean man of 32 whose dark hair fell across steel blue eyes that had seen too much. Stubble covered his angular jaw as he methodically cleaned his Colt .45, his movements precise and practiced like a man who had learned that survival depended on such details. Cookie Henderson, the grizzled camp cook, approached with a tin plate of beans. "Grub's ready, Jake. You gonna sit there all day fussin' with that iron?" he asked, but Jake didn't look up from his weapon. "Iron keeps a man alive out here, Cookie. Beans just fill his belly," came the reply. Cookie chuckled and shook his head. "You're a strange bird, Morrison. Been ridin' with this outfit near 2 years, and I still don't know nothin' about you, 'cept you can shoot straight and handle cattle better'n most." Jake's response was typically terse. "All you need to know." Trail boss McReady approached as Cookie walked away, his weathered face serious. "Jake, need you to ride ahead to Bitter Creek. Check for water and any sign of trouble. We'll push the herd through tomorrow." Jake stood, holstering his gun with practiced ease. "Apaches?" he asked. McReady nodded grimly. "Could be. Heard tell there's been ride-in parties out of the Llano. You see any hostiles, you hightail it back here, understand?" Jake's jaw tightened. "I ain't afraid of no savages, boss." McReady studied him carefully. "No, but you ain't stupid neither. That's why I'm sending you." By late afternoon, Jake rode his sorrel gelding through broken country where red rock formations jutted from the earth like ancient monuments. The creek ran clear but shallow, and he dismounted to let his horse drink. Suddenly Red lifted his head, ears forward in alert. "What is it, Red?" Jake whispered, his hand instinctively moving to his gun. The crack of rifle fire echoed off the canyon walls, followed by more gunshots and angry shouts in Apache. Then came a woman's cry, defiant and afraid. Jake hesitated for only a moment before swinging into the saddle and spurring Red toward the sound. In a canyon ravine below, 3 Apache warriors on horseback surrounded a young Apache woman who stood defiantly beside a lame horse. She wore traditional buckskin dress, her long black hair braided with beads, and even from his distance Jake could see she was beautiful but fierce. The warriors argued in their native tongue, and one dismounted, approaching her threateningly. The woman they called Ayanna stood her ground as the warrior named Nailnish grabbed her arm. "You will come with us, daughter of Cochise. Your father's blood demands it," he said in Apache. But Ayanna's response was defiant. "I am no longer of your band, Nailnish. I choose my own path." When Nailnish declared she had no choice, Jake appeared at the canyon rim with his rifle raised. "Let her go," he shouted. The warriors spun toward him, weapons raised. Jake had the high ground but was outnumbered 3-1. Nailnish snarled, "White eyes. You die," and fired his rifle. Jake rolled behind rocks as bullets sparked around him, returning fire and winging one warrior. In the confusion, Ayanna grabbed a fallen rifle and shot Nailnish's horse. The animal screamed and fell, throwing its rider. Jake slid down the canyon wall on foot, firing rapidly, and the remaining warriors retreated, dragging their wounded companion. "This is not finished, traitor," Nailnish shouted to Ayanna as they disappeared into the maze of canyons. Jake approached cautiously, rifle still trained on Ayanna, who stood proudly with the captured weapon in her hands. "You speak English?" he asked, and her melodious voice, edged with caution, replied, "Better than you speak Apache." When Jake asked why the warriors were after her, she countered with her own question, "Why did you help me?" Their wariness was mutual, 2 strangers from different worlds sizing each other up across cultural divides that ran deep as canyon walls. "Asked you first," Jake said, and after a moment, Ayanna explained that the warriors would drag her back to marry the son of a war chief, a fate she refused to accept. "So you ran away," Jake observed, but Ayanna corrected him proudly, "I chose freedom." Jake noticed her horse was clearly lame and wouldn't make it far, but when he pointed this out, Ayanna declared she would walk. "Walk where?" "This is rough country," Jake pressed, and though Ayanna claimed to know the land better than any white man, Jake reminded her that the warriors knew it too and would return with reinforcements. After a long moment of consideration, Jake made an offer that surprised them both. "Look, I got a camp about 10 miles south. You can rest up, decide what you want to do." Ayana's suspicion was evident as she asked why he would help her, and Jake's discomfort was clear in his response. "Ain't right, 3 men against 1 woman." Her observation that most white men wouldn't care about an Apache woman struck a chord, and Jake replied quietly, "I ain't most men." Something passed between them in that moment, the first spark of recognition, perhaps respect. "I am called Ayana," she said, and Jake replied, "Jake Morrison." When he extended his hand, she hesitated only briefly before taking it. Her skin was warm and calloused from hard work, and in that simple touch, both felt something neither had expected. As evening painted the sky deep orange and purple, they made their way along the canyon trail, Jake leading Red while Ayana rode. The conversation that developed between them revealed depths neither had anticipated. "How'd you learn English so good?" Jake asked, and Ayana's answer revealed a painful history. Her father had traded with white men before the troubles began, and she had learned from missionaries at the reservation. When Jake asked about reservation life, bitterness crept into her voice. "In cages like animals. My people. My father was a great chief. He deserved better than to die surrounded by white man's fences." Jake's simple response, "I'm sorry," surprised her with its genuine feeling. "You are?" she asked, and Jake's reply touched something deep within her. "Death ain't easy on nobody, red or white." That night, Jake built a small fire in a sheltered alcove, coffee boiling in a blackened pot as Ayana sat across from him, her rifle within reach. When he offered jerky and hardtack, she initially refused, saying she didn't eat white man's food. But pride, as Jake observed, didn't fill an empty belly, and eventually she accepted his offer with quiet thanks. The fire crackled between them as they ate in contemplative silence, 2 people from different worlds finding common ground in basic human needs. Their conversation gradually revealed more about each other's dreams and fears. Ayana spoke of heading north to Canada, somewhere white men hadn't yet spoiled, while Jake warned her of the dangers facing a woman alone on such a journey. Her fierce independence clashed with his practical concerns, but underneath their words was a growing awareness of each other as individuals rather than representatives of their races. The night air grew cold, and despite their separate blankets, both found themselves acutely aware of the other's presence across the dying fire. The next morning brought danger as the sound of hoofbeats echoed through the canyon. Jake quickly kicked dirt over the fire remains while Ayana gathered their few possessions. "How many?" she whispered, and Jake's experienced ear counted at least 6 horses. "More than we can handle," he replied grimly. They mounted Red together, Ayana sitting behind Jake, her arms around his waist in necessity rather than affection, though both felt the intimacy of their position. The chase that followed tested both their riding skills and their growing trust in each other. Through narrow canyon passages and across open ground, they fled from Nailnish's enlarged war party. Jake's knowledge of terrain tactics combined with Ayana's understanding of Apache hunting methods kept them ahead of their pursuers, but barely. During a brief rest in a hidden cave, they shared water and spoke in whispers about their situation. "Why don't you just leave me?" Ayana asked. "They only want me." Jake's answer was immediate. "Already told you I ain't most men." The look that passed between them held more than mere gratitude. Their flight continued for 3 days, during which their dependence on each other grew deeper. Jake's steady presence and protection gradually broke down Ayana's distrust of white men, while her courage, intelligence, and knowledge of survival in harsh country impressed Jake beyond his expectations. Around their carefully hidden campfires, they shared stories of their pasts. Jake spoke of a childhood in Missouri, parents lost to fever, and years of drifting from job to job, never forming lasting attachments. Ayana told of her father's greatness as a leader, the forced march to the reservation, and her determination never to be caged again. On the 4th night, trapped in a box canyon with their pursuers camped at the entrance, they faced what seemed like certain capture or death. As they sat close together for warmth, Jake finally asked the question that had been haunting him. "What happens when this is over?" "When we get you to safety." Ayana's answer was barely a whisper, "I do not know. For the first time in my life I do not know." Jake reached out and touched her face gently. "Maybe not knowing ain't such a bad thing," he said softly. When she didn't pull away, he leaned closer, and their first kiss was tentative, questioning, full of wonder at the feelings neither had expected. That kiss changed everything between them. The next morning, they fought their way out of the canyon together, Jake's guns blazing while Ayana provided covering fire with deadly accuracy. Their partnership had evolved beyond mere survival into something deeper, more profound. When they finally reached the safety of a cavalry patrol, both knew their lives had been forever altered by their time together. The young lieutenant in charge looked skeptically at Jake's Apache companion, but Jake's fierce protection of her made his feelings clear. At the cavalry post, the challenges of their impossible love became starkly apparent. The soldiers' attitudes toward Ayanna ranged from suspicion to outright hostility, while she faced the painful reality of being caught between two worlds, no longer welcome among her own people, but not accepted by whites either. Jake found himself fighting not just for Ayanna's safety, but for her dignity and right to be treated as a human being. His growing love for her was matched by his growing understanding of the injustices her people had suffered. The post commander, Colonel Harrison, was a decent man but bound by military protocol and social conventions. "Morrison, I understand you feel some obligation to this woman, but she can't stay here indefinitely," he explained. "The nearest reservation is 3 days' ride south. I can provide an escort." Jake's response was immediate and final. "She ain't going to no reservation. She's staying with me." The colonel's raised eyebrows spoke volumes about the impossibility of such an arrangement in their society. That night, as Jake and Ayanna walked along the fort's perimeter, they spoke honestly about their future. "Your people will never accept me," Ayanna said sadly. "And mine now consider me a traitor for caring about a white man." Jake stopped walking and turned to face her. "Then maybe it's time we stopped caring what other people think and started caring about what we think." His words were simple, but they carried the weight of a man willing to abandon everything he had known for love. Their conversation was interrupted by shouts from the fort. A band of Apache warriors had appeared on the nearby ridge, their war paint gleaming in the moonlight. Nailnish's voice carried across the distance, demanding the return of Cochisa's daughter. Jake instinctively moved to shield Ayanna, but she stepped beside him instead. "We face this together," she said quietly. The symbolism was not lost on either of them, no longer hiding behind each other, but standing as equals against the world's disapproval. The confrontation that followed tested every aspect of their relationship. Nailnish accused Ayanna of betraying her heritage for white man's lust, while Colonel Harrison questioned Jake's judgment and loyalty. In the midst of the shouting and accusations, Jake made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. "I'm leaving the service, Colonel. Going north with Ayanna. What we do after that is between us and God." The statement sent shockwaves through both the cavalry and the Apache, challenging the assumptions of both sides. Ayanna's response was equally stunning. Instead of immediately accepting Jake's sacrifice, she demanded time to consider. "You offer to give up your life for me," she said. "But what if I am not worth such sacrifice? What if love is not enough to bridge the hatred between our peoples?" Her questions revealed the depth of her character. She would not accept Jake's love without being certain she could return it fully and without reservation. The night before they were to leave the fort, Ayanna sought out Jake where he sat cleaning his weapons by lamplight. "I have made my decision," she said simply. "But first you must understand what you are choosing. If you come with me you will never truly belong anywhere. White society will reject you for loving a squaw. My people will never fully trust you. You will be alone in the world except for me." Jake set down his gun and looked directly into her eyes. "I've been alone all my life anyway. Difference is, now I know what I'm alone for." Her smile then was like sunrise breaking over the mountains. "Then I choose you too, Jake Morrison. I choose love over fear, hope over hatred." They made love that night with a passion born of mutual respect, shared danger, and the knowledge that they were choosing each other against all odds. Their union was both physical and spiritual, two souls from different worlds finding completion in each other. The dawn brought new challenges. A messenger from the territorial capital arrived with orders for Jake's arrest on charges of desertion and aiding hostile Indians. Colonel Harrison, sympathetic but duty-bound, gave them 1 hour's head start before he would have to pursue. As Jake and Ayanna prepared to flee, the colonel pulled Jake aside. "You're a good man, Morrison. I hope you find what you're looking for." Jake's reply was simple. "I already have, Colonel. Now I just have to keep it." Their escape from the fort began another phase of their journey, but this time they rode not as protector and protected, but as partners in love and life. The country they traveled through was harsh and unforgiving, but they faced it together. Jake's practical skills and Ayanna's knowledge of the land made them formidable as a team. More importantly, their love deepened as they learned to truly see each other not as representatives of their races, but as individuals with unique strengths, fears, and dreams. They established themselves in a remote valley in Colorado Territory, far from both the cavalry and hostile Apache bands. Jake built a cabin with his own hands while Ayanna created a garden using techniques taught by her grandmother. Their life was simple but rich, filled with the daily satisfactions of creating something together. Jake learned to track game using Apache methods, while Ayanna mastered the use of firearms Jake taught her. They were becoming something new, neither fully white nor Apache but uniquely themselves. The seasons passed and their love only grew stronger. They faced challenges that would have broken a lesser relationship, harsh winters that tested their survival skills, encounters with hostile whites who viewed their union as abomination, and occasional Apache raids that forced them to defend their chosen home. Through it all, they supported each other with unwavering loyalty. Jake never expressed regret for the life he had given up, and Ayanna never looked back toward the reservation or her former people. One evening, as they sat by their fireplace watching snow fall outside their cabin, Ayanna placed Jake's hand on her swelling belly. "Our child will be both Apache and white," she said softly. "What world will we raise him in?" Jake's answer came from the depth of his love for her and their future together. "We'll raise him in our world. A world where love matters more than the color of a man's skin or the tribe he was born into. A world where a person is judged by the content of their heart, not their blood." The story of Jake Morrison and Ayanna became legend in the territory, the cowboy who gave up everything for love and the Apache woman who chose trust over fear. Their children grew up strong and proud, carrying the best of both cultures while being limited by neither. They proved that love could indeed transcend the artificial boundaries created by prejudice and hatred, that two people willing to risk everything for each other could create something beautiful and lasting. Years later, when asked about his choice to abandon his old life for an Apache woman, Jake would smile and look toward Ayanna, still beautiful despite the silver in her dark hair. "A man can lose everything and still have nothing," he would say. "Or he can risk everything and gain the whole world. I chose love and love chose me back. Best bargain I ever made." And Ayanna, hearing these words, would take his weathered hand in hers and know that some things, the most important things, truly do transcend all boundaries. Their story became a testament to the power of love to overcome prejudice, fear, and social convention. In choosing each other, Jake and Ayanna chose hope over hatred, understanding over ignorance, and love over the easy path of conformity. They proved that when two hearts are willing to bridge the gap between different worlds, anything is possible. Their legacy lived on not just in their children, but in the example they set that love, when it is true and brave, can indeed conquer all.